Hey everyone. So you kind of see I took a little time off in January to kind of organize some things with the business. So I know it's been about a month since the last video. Course has been out there, still been getting some good feedback from there. But I'm still going to be putting out videos at a quicker pace now as I was kind of before Christmas. So I wanted to start off with still one of the most common questions I get asked. Before I get into that, you'll see that in the description, I got reached out to by Helium 10. And so in the description, there is a promo for either 50% off your first month of Helium 10 or 10% off if you're an existing customer. So there's no gimmick to it. It's either 50% off or 10% off. So go ahead and click through that, get that promo. It's great. I was also able to get it for my account. And you guys know that Helium 10 is really the only software that you need. So go ahead and get that. All right. Like I said, the most common one, variation listings. PPC with variations. So, I mean, I've definitely run through this, here and there, but I wanted to just do it once and for all, find a good listing, and just kind of run through some stuff with how to organize and do PPC for variation listings. So I'm going to take this listing here. It's New England Coffee. It's ground coffee, very, very popular listing. And they have two different variations. They have sizes and they have flavors. Right now, we're really just going to focus on the flavors. So their sizes are all pretty similar. But what I'm going to go through here is going to get the point across. We're going to look at these flavors here. So I've got this broken down into a PowerPoint with 2 slides. Tried to make it easy for you guys to read, so you can pause this, kind of read through this if it doesn't make any sense. But this is all it is, all right? Pretend we have this listing, this variation listing with 3, 6, 9, 10. They could have at least 10 variations, okay? So 10 variations. We're going to start off with the autos. What you want to do is have one catch-all auto for all the variations, all right? So that's it. Group all the child ASINs into one auto campaign, one ad group. Start with the conservative bid. This is not meant to be your main auto. This is a catch-all auto. So if you have multiple parent variations, you would have one catch-all auto for every parent. All right? Low bids, low-hanging fruit. You guys know these catch-all autos do very well, and they're getting better as time goes on. Okay? Now, I also like to do a catch-all broad for parent listings as well. So group all the child ASINs into one broad ad group only. And again, I'm saying conservative bid. You guys should know your cost per clicks. You should know, an aggressive bid for you might be $2. So maybe for this one, you want to start off with like a 75-cent bid, since you're going to have those 10 variations in one ad group. This is really going to be kind of a research and still more of a low-hanging fruit campaign. I suggest using 2 or 3 word broad keywords to just start, see if you can find more long tails. Low budget, low clicks, these two are both kind of designed to do the same thing. Now, so now what you also want to do, now you have the catch-all auto, you want to do one auto for every single variation. I think everyone knows that, but you would have Blueberry Cobbler as its own auto campaign, own budget, and then the bid for each of these is going to be higher than the catch-all auto. So you can have 10 different auto campaigns for each single variation. All right, give them each their own budget, each their own bid, and then you just tweak them as you go on. That's going to be the main auto for every single variation where you can find more keywords in there. 1 second here. Okay, so coming back into this now. The secret with PPC for variation listings is the best selling ASIN. People think that they always need to group all of the ASINs into like every single campaign that they do. But when I was searching, this breakfast blend was the best seller. I typed in ground coffee, and this one came up in search results. So obviously it's kind of the most generic flavor. It's the most common one. So if you're bidding on your main keywords. Everyone knows their main keywords, right? Even if you have a variation listing with different flavors, sizes, everything, the main keyword is still ground coffee, right? It's ground coffee, it's Arabica coffee, you know, the generic ones that everyone wants to rank for. You don't want to advertise your blueberry cobbler for ground coffee. So, okay, it has Amazon stories for flavored coffee because it's flavored, but this is where it starts to get tricky. You don't want to do the breakfast blend for flavored because it's not necessarily flavored. It's your best seller that you want to push the high volume keywords for. So let me step back to this. So this is where variation 1, I'm calling variation 1 your best seller. Use the best selling ASIN in its own ad group to bid on the high volume keywords you want to rank for. This is where I get away from broad. So I would go one phrase ad group, one exact ad group with your top keywords. Ground coffee, you know, ground coffee 10 ounce. Morning coffee, just coffee is probably a keyword you want to rank for. 100% Arabica coffee, freshly ground coffee. All of the generic ones that aren't going to necessarily hit on your flavors. Sticking with this for now, and then we'll get to the flavors. Also want to do one aggressive PDA with your best-selling ASIN. A lot of people, and again, PDA is product display ads where you bid on competitors. Use the best-selling ASIN, just like you're bidding on your top keywords, to bid aggressively on your top 10 to 20 competitors. Because if you go down here and you bid on Folgers dark roast generic flavor with your blueberry flavor, it's not going to work. Because people who are looking for dark roast generic coffee, they're sure they might click on a blueberry flavor, but they're not looking for blueberry. They're looking for the breakfast blend, okay? The one that doesn't have any flavor. So use the best seller to your advantage. And then I also like to do a low PDA for the best seller, where you're bidding on maybe another 100 competitors at a very low bid. Think of this as like a catch-all competitor, or a catch-all PDA, where you're taking your best seller, finding more competitors that you can bid on. But you should know your top 10 to 20. You break them out. You bid very aggressively on these guys, like on Folgers, on the name brand ones that everyone else is trying to get on. See, so all of these, none of these are flavored. There's a caramel one here. And do they have a caramel? They don't. But it's like you would go to your chocolate cappuccino and you would type in chocolate ground coffee, right? For all of those, and that's where you want to start to break out your PDAs. So your main campaigns should only be with your bestseller. And then what you start to do, I'm going to move this up here so we can read this. What you're going to want to do, okay, also a defensive PDA. Talked about this plenty of times. Take every single child ASIN and bid on it. Bid on every other ASIN in the parent listing, okay? So you're defending them. Now, variation 2. Variation 3, variation 4, variation 5, up to variation 10, put them in their own manual campaign with targeted keywords. So this is what I'm talking about. You know your best seller is breakfast blend. That's what we're saying. Now, you want to go to blueberry cobbler and find all of the keywords that this is going to rank for that aren't high volume. So, blueberry coffee, flavored coffee, blueberry ground coffee, medium roast flavored coffee. All of those specific ones that only relate to this. And then you do the same thing with chocolate cappuccino, chocolate coffee, cappuccino coffee, chocolate ground coffee, okay? Only the ones that match for this variation. Now, you can already see it starts to get tricky because I just brought up flavored coffee keyword. We have a lot of flavored coffees. So when you're trying to find what keyword is going to convert, say for flavored coffee, because flavored coffee relates to a lot of these and it doesn't maybe relate to our bestseller, that's when you start to group them again. So group your best-selling flavors into one ad group, just test the word flavored coffee. See which one is going to convert the best. And then pause the other ones, just keep the best-selling one going. So it's a lot of trial and error with the flavors, but you need to see which ASIN converts for which keywords, and then go from there. So similarly, variation 2, targeted PDAs. Find all of the other blueberry coffees and bid on them with the PDA, because that's going to convert way better than if you take your breakfast blend and bid on blueberry coffees. All right? So it's a lot to set up in the beginning, but once you get this down, it's so easy to manage because these variation campaigns convert so well because you just took a little bit of time to put into them, and now they're going to start to pay off. So I just want to wrap this up here. 1 defensive PDA, 1 catch-all auto, 1 catch-all broad match, 2 PDAs for bestseller, 1 aggressive manual for your bestseller. You may want to break these out into individual keywords into their own campaigns later. I've talked about this plenty of times. If you have a keyword in this campaign that's eating up most of your budget, pulling in most of your sales, give it its own budget into its own campaign. So, and this is what you should constantly be doing, is looking for these high volume keywords, making sure they're getting as much traffic as possible. 1 auto for each ASIN. You can do own ad group 1 campaign, but I definitely recommend having each one of them in their own campaign with their own budget. 1 targeted manual for each low selling variation. Maybe not low selling, but not the best seller. 1 targeted PDA for each low selling variation. Last but not least, negative keywords. If you want to, so you know all of the high volume keywords that you're using in your aggressive manual. Okay? If you want to, you can add those as negatives to the other autos and the other targeted manuals, so that the targeted manuals are not bidding on the word ground coffee, right? They're only bidding on the flavored keywords or stuff like that. Especially for the autos, that might get sneaky. But I said this because I've been seeing negative keywords definitely hurt a lot more lately if you do them right off the bat. So I kind of like to always know that it's an option, but maybe hold that for later. So I really hope this helps. I know that there's still other variation questions I'm going to get, but this is the basics of it. All right? So please, guys, get that Helium 10 promo, organize your variation campaigns, and then, as always, let me know questions you guys have about the course. I love to answer high-volume questions that you guys are always giving me.